Hi, my name is Leslie Hall, and I am a member of Trinity's Counseling and Enrichment Committee. I'm also a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Atlanta, and I'm going to talk about 5 healthy values for families to remember. So here we are, nearing the end of 2020. This year has been heavy and has spoken a new language of stress that no one understood or could interpret. As a marriage and family therapist, I spend a significant amount of my time thinking and talking about relationships. Relationships are the way we understand who God is and who God has created us to be. It makes complete sense that while the world looks and feels different these days, we as individuals don't feel like our normal selves. As a mother, daughter, daughter-in-law, sister, and therapist, my experience in relationships with others can often determine how I'm doing or how I'm feeling. God has created us to be relational, connected, and to feel joy when we experience togetherness. At the same time, we have been created separate, unique, and distinct. Finding the balance of our separateness and togetherness is when we feel whole. When we are experiencing chronic stress like we are in the year 2020, it is more difficult to remain clear and connected to our values and remember the parts of ourselves and others that give us life. Many of us may be looking forward to the Christmas season, and many of us may be feeling a sense of uncertainty, dread, or even grief. I'm going to share 5 healthy values that can help us remain clear on who God has created us to be while we are in relationship with those around us. Empathy. When we slow down our emotional reactions and truly put ourselves in another person's shoes, we can then connect to our own experiences and have more compassion for others. When we see ourselves in another person, it becomes more difficult to make assumptions or hold on to resentments. Empathy creates the space we need between our thoughts and our feelings and allows us to interact with others in a calm and clear way. Flexibility. During a time of crisis or stress, it is natural for us to shift into reactivity. Some people may become more rigid in their reactions and others more chaotic. We must understand it's okay and normal for us to respond differently. Having different ways of relating to stressors can actually help our families become more resourceful and creative during a hard time. When we have to accept that this year hasn't been normal and won't be for some time, we may become even more resilient and create an even deeper and more meaningful way to communicate and connect with others in our families. Healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries can take so much pressure off of a family system or relationship. When we are able to clarify our specific role within our families and life, then it becomes more natural for us to work as a team, to collaborate when problems arise. We often feel and experience conflict within relationships when roles change and we aren't so clear on where we end and another person begins. Holidays can make setting boundaries and limits even more challenging when there are high expectations and long-term traditions. Just remember that openly discussing roles and boundaries with family can provide a positive new direction for a relationship, or even provide an opportunity for a fresh start in a relationship. Self-regulation. We are probably all feeling the emotional discomfort of 2020. We are feeling the challenge to remain centered and to feel grounded. Our emotional reactivity is triggered more easily when our buckets are empty and when we have been in some form of survival mode for some time. When we manage our own emotions and empower others to take responsibility for their emotional experiences, then each person and family as a whole will feel more confident and accomplished. This is actually when families grow and develop emotional strength. If you find yourself getting frustrated or annoyed, take a moment to separate yourself. Allow yourself to be curious about your own feelings and take time to calm down. Don't forget that humor is a great way to cope during a stressful time. Personal responsibility. A great way to think about personal responsibility is to ask yourself the question, what is within my control and what is not? We are in a moment in time when controlling our choices, goals, and lives can be confusing. If we find ourselves in stressful or conflictual relationships, taking personal responsibility is a life changer. If we expect our relationships to continue growing, then we have to embrace humility, courage, and authenticity. When we model ownership over our feelings, actions, boundaries, and goals, then we often empower others to take responsibility for their own lives. So why would we prioritize these values as Christians? When we integrate these values into our relationships, we are more clear on how to love others more freely. When we understand where we end and where another person begins, we leave room for the presence of God. I really connected when Pastor Kim shared about our vision for ministry: to be big enough for laughter and small enough for tears. The same is absolutely true about our relationships. So as we enter into this holiday season, let's be curious about these values and observe how they can empower us to connect with ourselves, others, and God in a more meaningful way.